Well, I started when I was 14.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's been a long time ago. And then I quit like 35, 36. I ain't been on no more. Not about 35.
Wow.
Cause I had a good career coming from
Yeah.
Little Ellistown. You know, my mom owned the store out there for years and years and years. So, all my high school years, my mom was right there at the top of the hill, and she always put my saddles and stuff in the that I won. So, pretty cool. My name's Ben Duggar from East Union High School.
When were you born?
76 in the great little town of New Albany.
And where'd you go to school?
Went to school at East Union, and we lived there my whole life.
Which community?
Ellistown.
And when's the first time you ever rode a horse?
It would have been early in life. My grandfather, there was always horses around. So, I mean, I grew up horseback. It was just natural to me. Just wanted enough excitement in it. Wanted to try the bulls. My mama told me there's no way. I mean, you can move out of the house, you can. But until you're 18, there's no way whatsoever. And I seen it on George Michael Sports Machine on Sunday night. All you old folks know what I'm talking about. Come on after the news on Sunday. And it was Lane Frost had got killed that weekend. And I told my mama that's when I wanted to ride. Oh, no way, no how, but it was one Friday. I was 14 years old. And I was working farming. It hadn't rained in a month. It's hot. And a rain cloud just come up out of nowhere and flooded where we was at. The guy come got us. We got off early. That allowed me to go to the rodeo at East Union at the Porch Arena that Friday night. And my mom was taking up money, and I remember pulling in, and she said, "Joe's got you in the bull riding." I said, "You gonna let me ride?" She said, yeah. They worked it all out. Come one of the awfulest storms you've ever seen. I was riding, the first bull I ever got on, it was raining so hard you couldn't see the other end of the arena. And I rode it. And then the second one stepped on me. The third one I won money, so I was hooked. There's no way around it. I mean, young boy in the early 90s they're handing you $400 and $500 for just riding a bull. I mean, golly, who wouldn't love it? And it took me through life.
Well, what are the basics of bull riding? Like, if you were going to tell somebody, how do you even do that?
That was the tough part for me because, like I said, you know, early 90s, wasn't televised like it is now, so you didn't get to, you know, you couldn't record all. You didn't have the recording options and nor the channels, nothing like that. So you just really, I mean, it's all just a mental issue back then. But now if a kid was going to start, I mean, it would first, I mean, you'd need to just start with going to a bull riding school. I mean, they're available all over the place. And I mean, it just takes you so far in a weekend that would have took someone like me a couple of years, you know, to get all that knowledge. And because it's definitely it's an extreme sport, you know. I mean, you got to be a little. I don't know. I wasn't crazy. I'm still not crazy. I mean, but it's just something. I'm an adrenaline junkie. That's what you would call me, as an adrenaline junkie. I just still to this day, that's the way I am. But.
So the first time you ever really saw anybody was when that famous bull rider was killed? Was that your first?
I mean, I remember going to maybe a rodeo or two before that. I said I always grew up horseback. That was always trail riding, just what have you. But then that was really the first time that's the first time I remember it affected me. And then it consumed me from that point till my mid-30s probably.
So your first competition, that was when it stormed.
Mm-hmm.
Second time a bull stepped on you?
Yes, ma'am. That was in Boonville, Mississippi. Oh, man, I thought it stepped on my chest. That was before vest, too. I mean, we didn't have no protective. You just had a shirt on, you know, and it about killed me. And then the third one, I went the next weekend to Houston, Mississippi, and I rode 14 years old, you know, riding with the grown men, and I won second place that weekend. I mean, it's weird. I remember the bull's name and all that from then. But it's just crazy.
How do you hold on to a bull when you're riding it?
You got a rope. It's a flat braided rope. It goes around his belly, and then you have somebody on the chute pull it tight, and you wrap it around your hand and hold on. I mean, just leg on each side.
Does the bull ride, this may sound totally stupid, but does it end when you fall off?
Well, no, that's when the fun begins, because you got to get away from him.
Okay.
You know, I mean, that was the worst part about riding bulls. I mean, before and then right after, because I mean, right before you're thinking about, oh gosh, you know, I mean, you know, if you got any sense, you will have a little fear in you, you know. And I guess that was one I ever got on. I wasn't a little scared. And then when you get off, you got to get away from him. I mean, you always look for the first fence, just whichever way your head pops up and you see a fence, you just go. But yeah, that was the frills of it.
How did you train for that?
I grew up horseback, so bull riding is basically riding horses. I mean, it's the same principle as riding a hunter jumper horse, and I was just always horseback. I was body aware on animal, and I knew how to shift my weight and squeeze and do things, and it worked. It become easy for me.
Do bulls respond to you controlling them the way a horse might?
Well, as far as there's no, I mean, as far as the control part, I mean, it was no control, you know. I mean, you just, now if you, he always wanted to get you. Even the nicest one back there you could pet on and take pictures with would try to get you in the arena. It was just, everybody's adrenaline was going, and even theirs. I mean, it just, they wanted to play rodeo, and that's just the way it is. They get you if they, you know, the bull that killed Lane Frost wasn't a mean bull. He just happened to be laying there, and he decided he was going to poke him, and that's the way it, but, you never know. And the sweet ones with the big long eyelashes are sometimes the meanest.
That's how Lane Frost, he got thrown, and then the bull.
Yes, ma'am. He got thrown off, and the bull just took his horn and swiped at him, and that was before the vest. That's what brought the invention of the protective vest on, was Lane Frost getting killed. And then by the time I was a senior in high school, you had to have them. I mean, you know, now you got to have a mask and everything through high school. So they're trying to take care of their little noggins. I mean, like the concussion rate, they're just now starting to keep up with that in bull riding. I mean, there's no way to explain, you know, the times you get just throttled, you know, I mean, just head to head or ground or shoot or what have you. So there's no, they're really trying to get on top of that these days too. But it's, hey, what about all this old men? You know what I mean? They don't care about us no more. Yeah, it separated I guess you'd say, the men from the boys. I mean, you know, it wasn't crazy. You know, like I told you, I was scared every one I got on. It was just something I loved. That's what made me click. It got me.
Did you say you started at age 14?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of from there, how did your career go from there?
I rode all through high school. I won 5 state championships in bareback and the bull riding. Bareback, I started riding them when I was in high school, actually, about my sophomore year. Just because they had 2 or 3 and they was paying 4 places, so if you could hang on, you could win a little money. I ended up being good at it. I mean, won state championships, and there again, just being horse aware, it was easy for me. Then I went to the high school finals every year. My junior year, I had it won coming into the short round. All I had to do was ride, and I remember calling my mama and telling her, I got, she's, and of course she used the don't count, chickens till they hatch thing, and I counted them, and they wasn't as many as I thought. I just got slammed, and I had to eat that. But loss is a big part of life. And if you can't accept it or work around it, I mean, you can't move forward. So, I mean, you gotta figure out what caused it and go on with it. I mean, that's all you could do. And it wasn't a team effort. It was more, if I messed up, I couldn't blame it on nobody. And it made it a lot better to eat your losses. And, there's always somebody to blame it on. And, it wasn't me. I'm here, I coach Little League Baseball here all the time. No, it was him. No, I mean, that's why it's individualized, and it was just it was a humbling sport, very humbling. you could be on top of the world one day, and then for the next month you couldn't do nothing. So I mean, it's very humbling. Nobody was ever perfect at it.
When you graduated high school, how did you go? What happened then?
I told my mom that I was like all the big guys that went to school at this place in Texas, Odessa College, and is in Odessa, Texas. And I said something to my mom after my 11th grade year, and when these guys, these colleges recruited you, we went under a different thing than college football stuff there because we could accept money. And we had to go under the rules of NRRA, which was National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association. And you got money, you could win money that way to pay for you getting up and down the roads. And then it was, I remember telling my mom about it. I wanted to go there. So, like I said, all the hot shots have been. I don't know that my mother gets hold of these people. And they wanted to see 5 rides of my best bulls and barebacks. So I sent them one. Lo and behold, my traveling partner was from Olive Branch, Jay Henderson. We went out there that weekend, had a big PBR. They introduced us like in front of this big, huge crowd. And I didn't know I was that good. I didn't think I didn't know what to expect. But they give me a full ride for riding bucking horses and bulls. And that was an adventure. I mean, moving from North Mississippi, beautiful, to West Texas and sand, nothing. And my mama left me. Ooh, that was a bad feeling. But it was 2 years of, I learned a lot. I mean, like I said, coming from North Mississippi, going to West Texas, there's a bull riding every night you could go to. There's never worked. Me or Jay one always had some money, so we just lived it like that. And then it was my first year I went to the college national finals. I made that. The best 2 in each region get to go. I was in the Southwest region, which is a bull rider behind every bush. I mean, that's where the big boys play. And I mean, to be number 2 that year was wonderful. But of course, I always wanted to win. Well, I go back my next year. I had a great year. Quit riding bucking horses that year. Seen a guy hang up real bad. He was right in front of me in Vernon, Texas. He was the first horse. I was next. He was dragging around the arena and just beating off the fence. And I mean, he was praying and begging and screaming. And he finally bounced off. He hit the calf rope and shoot at the other end, and he bounced loose. And I told there's a big old gray horse named Crazy Jane. That's weird. And I rode her, and I won it all around that weekend because I won the bull riding. And I told my coach that next weekend, I said, this is the last rodeo I'm getting on a bucking horse. No, you can't. You're full scholarship here. So well, do what you got to do. I mean, I'll pay or whatever. I'll go home. I'm not getting on no more after this weekend. That was in Snyder, Texas. And I rode my first one and made it back, rode out, didn't win no money, but that was the last 2 horses I ever got on. And I told him I'm done with the horses. I mean, I'm scared of them. I mean, I'm just gonna focus on bull riding, and I'll win the college finals. And June that year, I was in Rapid City, South Dakota. At the college finals again, I won the region that my sophomore year, which I was second to my freshman year. I won it the next. And then I go to the college finals in Rapid City. And I was the only guy to ride all 4 bulls. It was crazy as dang. You used to say it was a whirlwind. I mean, because it just, you win, and then here you are, you got a plane to catch, or you got to get out of it, you got to go. And it was, never really got to enjoy it till we got home. And then, let's see, been home a couple of days, and we had it shipped from South Dakota, my saddle I won. Hey, bull rider, and you win a saddle, but that's just the way it is. That's what they give you, it's the clout in bull riding, and it just, boy, it felt good. This something you work for, but then that took something from me too. It's like I could say I done it. Which there was more levels to go, but in my mind, that's just kind of where I had put so much effort into it. It was just, that's where I kind of relaxed at. And I ended up having a good pro career, and then I quit for a couple years. I wasn't happy. And I was at Inglemark at a baseball game. My brother played Wood Bat League. This little redheaded punk, Brian Dowdy. He said, I heard you used to ride bulls. Well, something there, kind of, wait a minute now, you little turd. You know, so I said, when's the next one? He said, 2 weeks, Holly Springs. You go ahead and enter me up. I ain't been on one in 30 years. I didn't know where my stuff was at. And I went that weekend and rode. I won 3rd place. So for about the next, I'm gonna say, well, through my 30s, I was rough on him in the Southeast. I won a lot of money. I got nothing to show for it. Some buckles and saddles. I mean, but I got, it was fun. Man, it's just the memories of it, the being around it. I was still in the old cowboy days, you know, there at the beginning, and where it wasn't you protected head to toe. I mean, you know, I had it to where you had to really, you have some mental fortitude, or maybe just a little screw loose.
So the last time you rode a bull was you were in your 30s?
Yes, ma'am. I was at Ripley, Mississippi, and it was I can't really remember how long ago. I mean, just to be, you know, dead on about it. I won like the last 4 I went to. I was working for a guy around here then that was local, and there was another idiot that was local. They crazy, I love them to death, but they had taunted me all week long at work. You know, just taunting me. They love taunting me, and I had a pretty good bull that night too. But I rode, and I'll never forget. I could just see that look. I could just see his face up. I could hear him hollering out of everybody. I could hear him hollering. You know, and I ended up winning, and I had to show out a little bit for him. You know, but that was a lot. And I planned on entering again Monday, when Monday rolled around, calling and entering another one. But I never did, and I was happy. And the first time I quit, I wasn't happy about it. It's just something happened. And now when I started back and I done good, and I felt like I got to finish it like I started.
The guy who taunted you into it, was he there?
Oh yeah.
That was him?
Yeah, you probably know both of them, but you know, when I worked for King at that time, Jeffrey. You know Jeffrey?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I hit your thing. That was one of my bestest friends ever. And then Spencer Holmes. You know that little fuzzy head? There was they had taunted me so bad. Spencer, boy, he could dish it out.
And have either one of them ever ridden a bull?
No. No. Mm-mm. Jeffrey probably would have had. Spencer, no way.
Well, have you, since you, I guess, officially retired from bull riding, have you taught anybody else how to do it since then?
No, I mean, there's been a couple guys, you know, there's a little guy out of East Union Mouse riding. He's pretty good. And then, no, I mean, you can learn by just turning the TV on now, you know. And I mean, if you know how to ride a horse, you can ride a bull. I mean, you just gotta try. I mean, it's just like jumping a ditch on a horse. You go up, you go down. I mean, it's the same thing on the bull. So it's just that hunter jumper style. And I took that. I went to a bull riding school in Florida too. It was between my 11th and 12th grade year. That was the best thing that happened too at that time. Was a Gary LeFew school, and he was, I really, that changed me as far as I was pretty good anyway, but that just put me where I needed to be, and I just grew from there.
Was there anybody locally that, before you went to this school, that kind of guided you? Was there anybody who had done anything like this?
No. I mean, a couple of old men, you know, they rode at the local rodeo when it would come around every year. It was at the same place, and they would get on a bull, just they do it once a year, you know, and then it just, no, I mean, it never, I mean, and then like to go to college with it, I mean, who would have thought? And then something like that would take, you know, I mean, I'm from Mississippi, you don't hear that, you know, east of the Mississippi, at that time was definitely not heard of. Jerome Davis, he was probably, I mean, that's who I kind of wanted to ride like was him, you know, as I come up. And he went to Odessa College, so that made me want to go there. As one of the guys that had been there. And then, but other than him, I mean, east of the Mississippi, you didn't hear of nobody. And we was in that time when the East started, you know, a lot of us come out of here, and then we went out west, and we didn't let the supposed to be Texans beat us, you know. I mean, that's just the way Texan's supposed to be the Mississippian and riding bulls, but well, we decided not to let that happen no more.
Is this Odessa College? What else is going on there? Is it just that, or is it all kinds of stuff?
Oh no, it's all the sports, and I mean from cross country to basketball and all of it. It's a junior college, and it was a growing time. I mean, like I said, my mama left me. I'll never forget that morning. It's terrible.
It's a long way away.
Yeah, oh gosh, there wasn't no trees out there, nothing, you know, and then we adapted. So.
Is that school still like the place to go?
Yeah, it is. But a lot of guys my age, they're coaching a lot of these schools now. But anywhere out there in Texas or Oklahoma or those two places are just hard to beat. New Mexico, if you go to school at any around in there, you on top of your game just being asked to go there. You know, I mean, and you go there and shine. You got something to be proud of.
How did you say you learned about this college?
I just knew we high school rodeoed every year, so we got to go to the national finals if we was the top 4 in the state in each event, whatever event we was in. And so, you know, everybody was just it was Odessa College. Tom Murray went there, the Carrillo brothers, Jerome Davis, Jim Sharp, and the list goes on and on of this top-notch guys that went to Odessa College. And Jim Watkins was the coach, and he was for all them guys as well. He was old school bull rider that walked the part and talked the part. I mean, that's the way it was. I mean, you know, I don't call myself a cowboy. I don't get up cows every day. You know, I don't eat off a chuck wagon. I mean, I was a bull rider. We showed up in shorts and tennis shoes and thought our britches on and our cowboy hat and went and won some money and changed back out and gone again. I mean, it was just like a bunch of gypsies living. You know, we had a van and then we rode. It'd be 3 or 4 or 5 of us in there from place to place, and it's living the dream. With a 20-something-year-old kid.
Wow.
Mama just let you go. I mean, I was in 16 and 17 years old, staying gone all weekend. Leave East Union and drive to a high school rodeo and stay with somebody all weekend. Of course, my mama had, a family there that was at all of them, and they watched over me pretty well. But you know, I mean, that's a lot to drive at least 3 hours. I mean, everything was from at least Carthage south. So, and coming from up here, I had to drive every weekend, and I always called her, even when I was older. She'd answer.
Did your friends know what you were doing on the weekends?
Oh yeah, they all wanted to go. They just didn't want to ride. They all, oh man, we'd have the van packed sometimes, especially in an hour or two, and then, oh yeah, they all loved it, wanted to go, but they just didn't want to ride with me. And it was, none of them, I mean, they never did. We roped, we all rode horses out to there. I mean, we roped, we rode, I remember roping, and I always wanted to ride them after we'd get done, make them hold them for me. And then that was just riding them, and then I seen it on TV, and on the sports machine. Well, Lord, that's right down my alley, and that's just, that's the way it happened. It was weird to be, even my mama let me be up at that time on Sunday night, and it was after the 10 o'clock news. George Michael Sports Machine come on once a week. And,
Did you ever know what happened to that guy who came off the horse, the bareback rider?
Oh yeah, he was actually went to college with me at Odessa. He was a saddle bronc and bareback rider, and he's beat all the heck. His shoulder was, one of them, he had to have surgery on one of them. A leg was broke, a couple ribs was broke, and when he hit that calf rope to shoot, it stuck out just a little bit into the ring, and it sounded like, I knew that if I could get through a couple more, I was done with it. I was out right then, but I just finished as strong as I could on that, because like I said, the next weekend I told him, I'm done, that's it, no more.
What about that guy? Did he ever recover from it? Did he change careers?
Yeah, well, he was from Colorado, and that's born in them too. They break horses and they stay horseback their whole life. So to them, it was just just a bad deal. I mean, he hung up, when you hung up that bareback course, it wasn't no getting loose until they stopped it for you, and you still stomped. But I was fortunate, I never hung up to one. Out of all the years I rode, I never hung up to a bucking horse. Thank God. That was a fear.
How does that happen? Like,
You-
what does that mean when you say?
Well, you got you got a big old glove on, a big thick glove. It's got a roll in it right here. You put it into a rig, and this piece of leather, like rawhide. It's a hand hold. You crack this hand in there, and you put it, and you crack it back. It creates a big bubble right here, a bind. Well, then it can't throw you. I mean, your hand's stuck in there until you get your hand up and crack it out, or you're stuck. I mean, if you get thrown off before you get your hand cracked out, it's a bad deal. It can be very bad. I mean, be fatal. I mean, but it's not good getting drugged around there stomped. I mean, like I said, I never had that. I never went through it, but I did seen several of it. I never hung up to a bull either. I was always simple enough to just open my hand and it come loose. I didn't ever understand why the guys hung up. They'd be dragging around and their hands closed. Open your hand. You know, I mean, it was that simple to me, but I didn't. I never hung up to not one. Never had a stitch put in my body. And rode for over 20 years. And never had a stitch put in my body. And guys I rode with, they would get them every other weekend, it seemed like, you know, but I don't know, it's crazy. They ain't, I don't know how many more bull riders you could say rode 20 plus years and never had a stitch put in their body, but I broke my right arm one time, and I had a ligament in my left ankle tore one time. Other than that, it was just bumps and bruises and a little soreness. And man, they can say it, you know, I mean, that's all they preach in bull riding is they say it's not when, it's if and how bad. Mine, I never got that, the how bad or ifs or when. I mean, you know, so my wife, they tried to get me getting an old timers rodeo about just a few months ago. I said, oh, look, I might be the one who's supposed to do that, you know, I mean, I'm not doing it. Oh, and there's no way I couldn't walk for a month if I hadn't done that. My kids after me. No, yo. But it's, they call you old timer for a reason. I mean, my bull riding days are gone. They're over. I like looking at the pictures and stuff and telling my son, but I don't want him to do it. I'm not going to discourage him because it did make me who I am, but I don't.
You think, does he want to?
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, he says he does at times, but it's not talked about. We don't watch it on TV, not because we just don't. I mean, it's just not. It's just kind of, you know, it's bittersweet watching it. So, I will, but I'm not gonna go look it down either, you know. So, but if he wants to, I can help him along a little bit. But I don't want him to, you know. Just see him play tennis or golf or something, you know. I mean, I want to keep him in a bubble. He plays football and baseball and rough as a cob, but my little girl's want to probably be the bull rider. She'll be 4 in November. Oh, she's something else. Makes every step I do. And she's a little beauty queen with dirt on her fingernails. No, I got a 20-year-old daughter, Sydney. She's a beauty queen daughter. She kind of stretched out there a little bit.
Well, that the whole sport, bull riding, and you know, what are the other? Does that all fall under like one big umbrella of like a sporting association?
Well, it would be. And when he was pro, it was PRCA. It was Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, and then there's numerous associations. I mean, there's IPRA, there was ACA, PCA, it was all kind of stuff. I mean, it was just somebody would get mad in one association and go start another one, and it was. But the PRCA was that was the top notch nationally that you could be in, and that's had to be the age of, let's see, we had to be 21 in Mississippi before we could have a permit in the PRCA. But in Texas, you only had to be 18. So we used our Odessa address and got our permits for pro. You had to win enough money on your permit before you got a card. And me and Jay, the first one was in Memphis, Tennessee. We missed our first college rodeo that my sophomore year to come home to Memphis to go to our first pro rodeo. Oh, they was mad. And I can't believe they even, well, we was going one way or another. I mean, that's the way it was. And I walked, that's when my ligament was messed up in my ankle, and I walked on crutches from the front gate of Liberty Line over there to the Mid-South Coliseum with a gear bag on my back, on crutches. And it was a Harper Morgan rodeo, and I rode, and Jay rode, was only two that night, and it was, they give you day money in the pro rodeo, like if you ride it, so much of it goes in the pot for the day money, and whoever rides, you get to split it, or you win it by yourself if you ride, or if nobody rides, the stock contractor gets it. So it was $300 something with one day money that day too a piece, and that was worth that walk across the parking lot that night, you know. And then the first pro rodeo, I mean, you ride and you win money, so that was a big deal being at Memphis, because that was the big rodeo back when I was growing up with Big Memphis. That's where the pro rodeo come to, and it was so they're not there no more. They don't have that there no more.
What was the biggest prize you ever won?
It was in Houston, Texas, at the Justin World Bull Riding Finals. I just won the college finals, and they called and asked me if I want to come to this bull riding. It was when the PBR first started up, and it was let's see, I'm trying to think what year it would have been. All right, I won the finals in '97, so it was the summer of '97. I was dressing catfish, and the phone kept ringing. And they finally answered it, and they said, "Ben, somebody wants to talk to you." I said, "Yeah, I got catfish slime all over me, you know, and it was been dressing." And I finally got the phone. It was a guy out of Texas that was inviting me to that. Glad I took that call that day. That was a big deal. And then it was at the summit where the Houston Rockets played basketball. All the big names was there. It was awesome. I rode my first bull. It was 83 or 4 points. The second one throwed me over his head, and that's when I broke my arm. And I had, I didn't think I could ride, you know, and they take me back there to the locker room, and I stuck my arm in, there's an x-ray machine, and it showed you right there on the picture, you know. I mean, it was where the Rockets played basketball, you know, so, I mean, it was all the equipment. And he told me, you know, your arm's broke, you can come by Dallas Monday morning, and I can take care of it, or do you have an orthopedic at home? And I told him I did at Oxford, and then who it was, and he accepted that. It was Tandy Freeman was the doctor then in the PBR, and he was out of Dallas. And he said, "Well, you want me to go tell him that you're not gonna ride?" Or somebody asked me that from behind me. And I looked over at Tandy, and he said, "There's 10,000 to the winner, you know, I mean, I can take this up." I said, "Man, get your tape out, you know, let's tape it up." And then I rode like 7.7 seconds on my last bull that night to win $10,000. Now you only have to ride 8, you know, so I'm right there at it. But every time I would push with my right hand, that's what I had broke was my right arm. When it threw me over the bull's head, my second bull, and I put my hands down, and it broke my arm, and it was no using it. I mean, but sure I could keep it tied in the rope for a little while, you know. And then I'd push them on the right hand, and it would just give and give, and he'd just work me to the outside and throw me. But I ended up winning. I think it was like $6,200 that weekend, and I just got out of college. I mean, yes, I got my PBR card in. They didn't even make me go through the permit stage, you know, that they just let me jump right to the card, and won a little money in the PBR here and there. And I just wished I'd have been, when I was 35, I wished I'd have been 20, you know, I mean, because the money's really there nowadays. I mean, we done it just for fun, basically. And if we'd been able to ride in today's time and be as good as we would be sitting on a gold mine. But that ain't the way it was meant to be, so.
So the point system is how long you rode it, plus what?
Well, yeah, you get you get a possible 100. But then there's 50 for the rider and 50 for the way the bull bucks, you know what I mean? So it comes from each, you know. So they say in my day, if you was over 80 points, then it was great, you know. Now it's 90, so you know. And then, but you know, that way you would be. I mean, the bull has to buck. I mean, but it ain't all about him just going crazy and bucking. I mean, you know, it's a graceful issue with them too. You know, I mean, that's the way. Who's in control, you know, more? I mean, the better ride, or just who made it look it wasn't always who made it look the easiest. Sometimes it cost you $1, you know. I mean, you had to ham it up sometimes.
So there's a theatrical element to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you are, I mean, there's people there to watch you, I mean, so in one way you would be a showman, I mean, they come there for the bumps, the bruises, they didn't come for the barrel racing, I mean, I hate to say that, but they come to see the bull riding, basically, and then, of course, the bucking horses added to it, but that's what they wait for, that's why they put it at the end, so everybody will stay.
So if you once you have to make it to 8 seconds to even for anything to even count.
Yes, got to. I mean, anything below that
It's
it makes
just
nothing.
scratch.
Yeah, you lost your money. Sorry about your luck. You go home.
It's over.
Yeah, that's it. And then, but you had to ride 8, and then it was up to the score of. I mean, everybody might ride that night, and it was whoever had the best bull and rode the best, or nobody may ride but you, and then you was looking good. Then you was the best that night, and whether it was a low score or not, I mean, it didn't matter. That's your road.
So there there's some judges there who are looking at the rider and some who are looking at the bull?
Well, both. There was 2, one on each side out here, and they was looking at, both of them was looking at at each. So it was, and then they would give their little scores on it each, and then it would be like, the way they would do it, and it would be, one judge would be up to 50, he'd do 1 to 25 on the bull, and then the cowboy, and the same on the other side, and then they would put them together, and then that's what you got. And of course, like I said, over 80 points, and them days, golly, you rode a good one, and now that wouldn't even, they're not allowed at the bull riding if you can't do 85 on them, so it's just really changed, really.
What kind of what did you have to wear to do that?
Well, when we first started, it was just cowboy, tie long sleeve shirt, cowboy hat, pants, spurs, and a glove. That was it. And that was it. And then by high school, it was a vest, which was a material like bulletproof, is for high impact, low velocity. We was more of a high. We was more of a low velocity, high impact, to where the gun is the opposite. So our material was made. It's not Kevlar because it had to flex with your body, and then so it was. That saved a lot of guys' lives. I mean, it really did.
Was that to protect you from the fall or from the bull's
From
horns?
the feet.
From the feet.
Yeah, basically. I mean, because you think about a 2,000-pound bull stepping on you, in your vitals, and then you're against the ground. Something's got to go, and it's usually you. I mean, you still die with the vest on too. I mean, but it's just the human body can't accept all of that load that it's getting in such a small confined area, and that's why it's just amazing I never got hurt. I was meant to ride bulls. I mean, there's no other way about it. Because baseball players get hurt more than I do.
Well, in your training, like in college and stuff, are you trained ways to, like, the fastest way to get out from underneath the bull?
No, everything.
It's just instinct.
It's all different. I mean, because every time, it's never the same. When they're coming to, the crowd will, if you made a good ride and you got off, you could hear everybody was happy. Then you hear like a deep sigh, like, well, he's right behind you. And you just start, and you're running anyways. I mean, you run every time. I mean, I did. If you didn't, you get run over. I mean, of course, you had guys out there, the bullfighters, that tried to keep them from getting you, but that didn't always happen. Some of them weren't the bravest either, so. But no, it was, shoot, you could just feel them coming on you. And it would all happen real fast, but they step on you, it would hurt. And if their legs slipped off, like their foot slipped off, where they're split, it would pinch you and just make an awfulest bruise you could imagine. And it would, step on your foot, spur would be squished into your foot. Fingers, my finger hurts right now speaking of it. My elbow. I mean, my mom always told me when you get 40, you're gonna start feeling all that. It happened that night, I guess. But I started feeling it. It beat me up, but I wouldn't take nothing for it. They still get beat up like that with all that stuff on. All they're really doing is dodging a head injury or Maybe a smash, but it could still. It's very possible that one of them. I mean, the vest does not. It's not a life-saving device. It helps a lot, but there's still fatalities with it. I mean, there can. It's just not possible unless you make something so hard that it wouldn't yield. Well, then you can't ride the bull because you have to. Everything has to move. Your whole body has to, and this. So that'll never be able to be done. And then the helmet. It's just basically a football helmet with a mask on the front, you know. I mean, it covers your face, so all of that is. It's just it's a safety measure as football is, you know what I mean. But they're all foolproof. A little kid broke his leg at South Pontotoc this weekend, you know, playing football, and all them little kids, you know. I mean, that could have been mine too, you know. I mean, that just you can't protect everything. It's just the best advice I give riding bulls though. Was riding bulls is the easy part, the safe part. Getting to the rodeo and back home is the dangerous part. And that set in on me, you know. I was like, hey, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, every car I meet is 3 foot from death, and I mean, how many am I meeting before I get to the rodeo? So, and I'm just running away from one bull. I mean, I like my odds. That's probably, I mean, I never had nobody around here to look up to or tell me nothing or do anything. I mean, I learned this strictly on my own. I mean, until I went to that bull riding school. And other than that, there was a 2-day bull riding school in Marianna, Florida. I mean, you know, it wasn't like I went through 10 years of apprenticeship or nothing, you know. I mean, I got in and done it and just wasn't gonna have it no other way. It's just, I hate to lose. I'm thankful that I win. I'm gonna say military probably. I may not have been by choice, but I may have would have probably military. I done construction work when I was home. If I didn't win nothing that weekend, and then that went on for years. I mean, that's all I done. I mean, that paid for everything. I mean, but I started working and I learned the construction business and that's what you had to look forward to after bull riding was construction work. I should have learned something in college, but I did. I learned how to ride bulls.
That was your degree.
That's what I was there for.
Do you actually have a degree in bull riding?
No, it ain't. No, I do have my name out there on the top of that gymnasium, you know, with my national championship, along with them other big names that I told you know about. So I like that, and I'll tell you, but like East Union School, man, my name ain't nowhere out there. I won 6 state championships, 5 state championships.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna get Basil in a headlock.
Well, maybe this will help you get that sign out.
Them suckers. No, I love my East Union family. That's where I'm from. I've watched that place grow from a tiny little speck that everybody laughed at to a powerhouse that needs to grow by structurally. Because they need some room over there, bad. The sports is just too good. It was moving in. I gotta get, you know, it's important that football field tonight at practice will be full of little kids out there, you know, from all 3 divisions of the football. So I couldn't imagine that. We used to speak of football on the playground and we'd get in trouble, you know. There wasn't no such thing as football at East Union. Wasn't even thought about, never gonna happen. And now look at it out there, it's really grown. I mean, big time.
It's good for kids.
Oh yeah. I mean,
all sports.
I graduated 20. Man, we had like 3 kids die though through our years, you know, and it was like 26, maybe I think 25 is what I graduated with. Man, I don't know where you find a school that's a smaller class, you know, but it was about the mid-20s what we graduated with. So now, golly, I wouldn't get it started.
What year did you say you graduated?
95.
95.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you ride horses now?
Don't have a horse. Don't even have a pasture. I mean, it's crazy how it changed. I mean, and I would still enjoy my kids, talk about riding, but there's a lot of work goes into having a horse. You know what I mean? my papa raised me. I mean, the horses eat before you did at night, and you didn't halfway do nothing. And you feed them, you use them. They're like your car. I mean, you ride them, you use them. We logged with them. It was an extension of us. I mean, we had to take care of them, and I don't know if I got the patience to be teaching all that. I mean, because I'd be having to go down there and do it every night, and it just. But it's a good learning tool too. I mean, you could, the feeding every night. That's a good chore. Feeding and watering them every night. Because my papa wouldn't have it now. I mean, in the morning when he got up, he went and fed his stock, and then he come back in the house and done his business, ate his breakfast, and then he went to work. But his stock was the first thing to eat every morning. And that was just my whole life. I remember they was gonna eat first before he did. And we used them. They was, like I said, they made us money, and they was well taken care of. And I grew up a cool life. I did. I mean, I've done about everything man really has to do. Been all over, seen all kind of world, but I always ended up back out there at Ellistown somehow or another. The low Ellistown. But I've done, and I hope to just keep piling it on, I mean, but it's been fun. I can't complain on it, I guess. I mean, it's been, of course, up and down, and losses, and yeah, it's been a good one. I know people has it a lot worse than I do. So, just try to enjoy it and make the best of it. We'll live to 112 at least. That's what I tell my kids. So, yeah, just get ready for me.